G'day. Well, look, obviously today we've had a budget from this new government. I think it's taxed more, it's borrowed a lot more, and it's spending a lot more. But by their own definition of success, you'd have to say it's incredibly disappointing. Look, if you look at our budget last year, we had $7 billion going into public services. That's now $6.5 billion. And by their own definitions of success here, when they're not doing Dunedin Hospital, that's not in there. When they've taken $200 million out of basic medicines and Pharmac, when there's no money there or no real money for mental health, that's a real fail by this government. And you've got to say that's ultimately for a bunch of poor priorities, mostly to make sure Winston Peters is getting the things that he wants, like the $1 billion for the diplomats, like the $1 billion slush fund for Shane Jones. So I think it's a disappointing budget. It's one where the rhetoric and reality don't match up. It's taxing, it's spending, it's borrowing, and it's disappointing.
You claim in this fact that you spend more on health than this government has. Were you including a turnover settlement in that?
Yeah, but be really clear. That's part of the operating expenditure for health. That's real money for real jobs in health. And you can go through line by line what they are doing, but their rhetoric was much more around, in my memory, 1.2, 1.4 billion. They are funding less this year, next year, the year after, and the year after, than we funded last year. It's real money that goes into health, and it's not there from this government.
But would you agree it's a bit disingenuous to claim a settlement that was court-ordered under your health spending? No,
look, I think that is real money for real health investment. And the workers who are helping New Zealanders when they're unwell, when they're elderly, it's very simple. These guys went into the, no, it's very simple. These guys went into the, yeah, it's very simple. They went into this election promising a raft of things. Health is, in their words, a crisis. Health is their top priority. They are funding less than us.
What do you make of the fact that they've delivered such a huge surplus?
Well, again, you just got to say, what's the priority here? I only look at what they promised, and there's fewer police than they promised. There's less spending for health. There's a raft of things in health they're not doing. It just doesn't add up. They're taxing more, they're borrowing more, they're spending more, but it's not on the stuff they promised. It's weird.
Are you going to stick to that line that there is less spending in health?
Yes, because it's factually absolutely correct.
Even though that huge chunk of your spending was to settle a court case?
In operating expenditure in health, we spent $880 million. They're spending 700 some. Frankly, I would have expected, I think New Zealanders listening to their rhetoric, not just pre-election, through this last few months, the crisis at Middlemore would have expected well over $1 billion. It's just not there. My job is to critique it, and I'm simply saying to you what I see, which is more taxing, more borrowing, more spending, but it ain't there in health. And I think New Zealand's been incredibly surprised to know $200 million less has gone into Pharmac. There's $100 million that was for mental health that no longer is. Now they say that's because there's an inquiry, but that's years while New Zealanders wait for substantive solutions. We were providing them. There's a Dunedin Hospital they promised much faster than us. It's not there. And if I can make an unrelated point, but I think it's also important, one of the most damning things about this budget is the fact that where you've got declining business confidence, there's just nothing there that's going to raise that. I just don't see anything. And I think that's going to have a real effect over the next few years in New Zealand as we see that business confidence to continue to decline because the government's doing it all wrong.
What about some? What do you make of the funding increase for MPI, $9 million over 4 years when we're facing
I think it's staggering. If you listen to what Damien O'Connor, what David Parker, what others have been saying, again, they've tried to paint a picture of a health, I should say a crisis in biosecurity. Well, it's got $9 million over 4 years. I wouldn't have been surprised if it got $250 million, frankly, from this budget, awash in cash. And it's just not there. It's just another example. The police, the Kiwi bill, and health, here in biosecurity, where they've been pretty weird, frankly. And I think the best explanation for that is that Winston Peters has got his stuff, You know, for the diplomats, for the political slush fund, $1 billion a year, some of the basic things that Labor campaigned on aren't there.
What about on the fiscal side of things? You must be happy to see that not only have they come under their budget responsibility rules, but they've come under by some margin that shows their commitment to keeping the books in good position.
Look, I'd be pretty sceptical. I think if you look at debt, I forget the exact figures, $73 billion. You're talking about additional debt. Now, some of that is Crown, of course, most of it is Crown, but they've also got these Crown entity arrangements, about $6 billion of an additional debt there for the Crown Infrastructure Partner, Housing New Zealand, and the New Zealand Transport Agency. So, look, you're right, they are meeting their budget responsibility rules, but actually it's in a reasonably sneaky way, because off that Crown, those Crown books, there's another $6 billion of debt that New Zealanders still have to pay, and that takes us to about 10 grand per household debt. So I would argue, when you look at it through the taxes, the borrowing, actually this is it's quite a profligate budget.
But wasn't that something that you did during your budget as well? I mean, in your time in government with the Crown Infrastructure Partners?
Not at those levels.